This podcast brought to you by ballcancersucks.com. Check your nuts. Go to the webpage and see what you have to do to make sure you stay healthy. Beauty and the Beast podcast coming up right now. What's up, you dirty bitch?
Well, it's been a very exciting morning.
Oh my God, it has been. A lot of running around. A lot of fucking heat already and shit like that. Questions.
A lot of questions.
I just had 4 days with my wife because the weekend got extended, so
yeah,
it's just one of those weekends. It's just one of those days for me. That extra Tuesday with your wife, and she was sick, and you know how it is.
Yeah,
so
I hear
sometimes
you
just gotta fucking understand what
you gotta flee the house when you can.
Oh, and this morning I woke up and I thought she was gonna say she's not going to work. So I got up at 3 a.m. last night because I went to bed at 9, right? And I got up at 3, just got up. I took a piss, I ate a cookie. Then I said, let me check what's going on the internet. I checked my emails, I smoked a fucking bong hit. So I slept till 7:30 thinking she was sick. I got up at 7:30, she got music on, the birds are chirping, she's going to work. So now I had to double back on everything. I was running against the 8 ball as it was. You follow me? So and then I got people calling me early with dates and questions and why and how, and I'm like, you have no fucking idea. I'm just trying to get my motherfucking head together. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, it's
just weird. The holiday weekend sometimes throws you off.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It throws you the fuck off, and I'm off today. Like it's Wednesday, and I keep thinking I don't even know what fucking day it is. I just know the sun's out and we're fucking alive. So I'm not complaining, but. Yeah. Gotta understand.
Yeah, the Tuesday morning before, after a 3-day weekend, you always feel like you gotta run, do. And I went and did yoga, and the yoga instructor had a cold, and I hadn't done yoga in like a year, and so I had my glasses on, and like she would not fucking get off my ass. You know, she's like, you with the glasses, you know, the other leg, like fuck you, bitch. I'm trying to relax, you know. So I eventually just left, but that was the most tense yoga set. That was over here. I mean, I'm gonna go back. But maybe she was just very cranky, you know?
What's the problem with some fucking yoga people are there to have fun. Some yoga people think this is fucking Bangladesh. Relax, you bitch. You know what I'm saying? Relax, you bitch. Like, I went to a yoga class, ladies, like, take off your socks. Have you ever seen my big fucking toe? That's worse than a horror movie.
Really?
Oh, my big toe got a barbell landed on it like 10 years ago. It's never been the same. The nail grows out. It looks like a fucking Coke spoon. You know what I'm saying? Like, I could put Coke in the middle of it and do a line if I had to off my toe. Like, it's a good fantasy. You know what I'm saying? If a chick's around.
He's an addict and a contortionist.
Oh, it's a fucking nightmare. So it's like, I don't want to take off my socks in yoga, but you have to. Yeah. You know, you have to get better balance and stuff. But it's so weird how some people take it fucking personally. It's like the fucking bike driver that rides his bicycle one day a week, but he puts the helmet on with the tight t-shirt and the pants, just with the shoes that click. You walk into a place walking like Clint Eastwood. Bitch, you're riding a fucking bike. This ain't no horse. That shit kills me. That shit is all like make-believe people.
Right.
Like I lived in Colorado, so I know motherfuckers who could do somersault and go up there with shorts, a t-shirt, and a hat on. Fuck the goggles and all that drama. And then you get these beginners that go up there, they got the goggles, the thermal all the way to the top. What the fuck? You don't even ski for 2 hours. You just went and dropped 800 on goggles for no reason. So all that shit I've never bought into. Like those guys, you see it a lot in LA. This is the land of make-believe. But what you see, this is the only state where I've seen fake bikers. Like during the week they're like producers, you know what I'm saying? Like they're taking orders and getting bitch slapped.
Oh right, and then on the
weekend they got their woman with their Sons of Anarchy, and they've never, you know what I'm saying? They're Sons of Anarchy and they've never done dick. So.
But they live in Malibu.
Yeah, they live in Malibu and they live in a gated community. But they're a big, their leather is untouched. You can see it's like $800 brand new.
In the back, there's like big ornate gates in the back of their leathers. You know?
The fucking security guys. Fucking pussy motherfuckers. But that's it. The summer's upon us, man.
Yeah,
that's
for
it.
sure. For sure.
You know, I didn't even know that. That's how fucked up. Like, I talked to a buddy of mine yesterday. He goes, dog, the air conditioner went down in my building. I'm sweating bullets. I go, what are you sweating about? And he goes, it's 90 degrees in Jersey. I go, what are you talking about? He goes, man, it's been fucking hot and humid. I go, oh my God, that's right. It's after Memorial Day. Turn on the fucking faucets on the East Coast. Turn on the fucking faucets. People have no idea what they do of taking a shower and sweating when you come out of the shower. See, Felicia, you grew up in Colorado. With
No, but I lived in New York for 8 years.
That's right.
And in New York, like at the end of August, it is so fucking hot. And it's like being on fire. It's like you would go to Central Park to see a show, and it was like sitting in fire.
Oh, my God. And being in your bed at night, even with the air on, it still feels kind of warm in the room. Anyway, we're back, bitches. Felicia Michaels.
Joey motherfucker Diaz.
What's happening, you beautiful bitch?
Well, I went to visit my father in Kansas.
Right,
yes,
Kansas.
That was very exciting. It was sweet. I wrote this on my Facebook, but it was really a really cool moment. My dad and me, it was no bueno. And he's blind now, and he can't hear either. So he was like this really handsome Robert Redford looking guy, and now he's just kind of, not very interactive, and he's still all there and everything. So so I went to go hold his hand because we're not that affectionate, and it startled him. And then I could see it in his eyes, even though he can't see. You can still, and then he felt that it was my hand. And I just remember, because, my dad's getting older, like just, trying to remember every little rough spot in his hands, you know what I mean? And then I went to go move my hand away, and he wouldn't let go of it. And we just sat there holding hands, and no one else at the table knew. And it was really like this cool little moment, because I was never very close to my dad. So it was kind of a neat thing for me. In the middle of fucking Kansas, where people do prayer circles at Starbucks.
Hey man, it's fucking real America, but I'm happy you had that moment with him. That's always a moment that's a director's cut. I'd like to introduce our guest this weekend, a fucking badass motherfucker. Let's give a round of applause to my man, Mr. Josh Adam Meyers, bitches.
Woo!
Thank you for having me, guys.
Hey man, thank you for coming on. You're from Baltimore originally, so you know about the humidity problem.
Oh yeah,
I'm
man.
about.
Yeah, that's the one thing I don't miss about going back east. I go back east usually every May and usually every December, and it makes me realize both times why I don't live there anymore, because it's either freezing or fucking humid, and I hate it. But it sucks, man. Maryland in August is probably the worst place to be. It's just the worst, man, because it's a little bit southern than New York, of course, that you were talking about. So the humidity is that much more stickier, and there's a lot more black people, I think, and it kind of sucks.
Baltimore does have a lot of solid motherfucking black people.
A lot of black people.
A lot of solid black people. Like they got the red veins in their eyes, and they just look at you. You know what I'm saying? Like,
red
what time
veins.
it is. I used to drive from Denver to Baltimore when I was an open micer. There was a club there on the water. This is 95, way before you thought of getting into comedy.
Sure.
And I forget the owners. I mean, it's horrible. My friend Rick Kearns got me into the club. And the guy really liked me. We talked. I mean, we were like kindred souls. The club closed down. But one thing I remember about Baltimore is you don't fuck around there. Like most places where you go cop a nickel bag, there's always like when they know you're a newbie, there's like a fucking disturbance. In Baltimore, it was like, what do you want? Just want some weed, dog. No, go see that guy in the corner. No, put the money on the floor.
I never fucked with the drug dealers really in Baltimore, luckily. I always had like white people I used to get mine from.
Oh,
I had the best coke dealer in the world in Baltimore, though, man. She was the best. She was the best. She was always home. That's how you know you have a good drug dealer. She's always home all day and night, and she was the best. My age, always hooked it up. She actually, on my birthday, gave me an 8-ball for free. And then she said to me, this is true, this is actually a funny story. She's like, it's my birthday. She's like, everybody gets to feel special on the birthday. She's like, here, take this. If you run out, come back. So I go out with my buddies. We get fucked up at like 4 a.m. I go back to her house to pick up more. And she gives me another 8-ball for free. And I'm sitting on the couch, totally drunk, high off my ass. And then some girl's looking out the window and goes, what car is that? And the next thing you know, like 18 cops break into the window, and they're like, it's a raid, and like we're gonna search everybody, and I'm just sitting there on the couch with coke in my pocket, and the first person comes up, the main guy, he's like, all right, everybody, we're gonna search everybody. First person we're gonna search is that guy right there, and he points at me, and he pulls me outside, and I got this coke in my pocket, and he's like, I'm trying to talk to him, but I sound like an 18th century gold prospector because I'm just so fucked up. I'm like, well, I don't know, and just going off. He's like, you have anything on you? I'm like, no, and I grab a hold of the coke in my pocket, and I'm thinking what I'm going to do is just kind of like pull it out as I go, listen, man, I don't have anything in there, and then just like let go of it and hope the wind will just take it away to some magical place where they won't find it. But of course I let go, and it just drops like a bag of tomatoes. It just hits the ground, makes the loudest noise, and then I start crying. So I'm like, nah, man, please, you can't arrest me. And he's like, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, listen, it's my birthday, man. And he stops. He's like, it's really your birthday? And I'm like, yeah, man, it's my birthday. And he's like, all right, let me talk to these other cops over here, and we'll see what we do. And he goes over to talk to the other cops, and then he comes back, and he's like, you're not lying to me. It's really your birthday, right? And I'm like, yeah, it's my birthday. And he's like, all right, we got something for you. And he goes, 2, 3. And then 6 cops start singing happy birthday to me as I'm in handcuffs crying on the side of the street. No. And that was 26. That's what that was 26.
Those are good fucking cops.
Yeah, but they let me go. And they let me go. That was the other thing, too. I forgot to add that. Well, I don't know if they were real cops or they were just dirty cops, because they went upstairs, they took all their coke, and then they left, and they just let us all go. And that was Baltimore, man. Like, it's one of those towns that, like, you get pulled over if you're drunk, and they always say, how far is it from your house? You know what I mean? Can you get home all right? Because we got bigger fish to fry. Do you know what I mean? There's more shit going on in Baltimore than just DUIs and little drug charges. Like, they're going for the big potatoes. So they're really looking for the big drug dealers out there, and they don't have time for the little guys.
Now, what made you come out here?
I wanted to. Well, I mean, I had so many different careers. I wanted to do comedy since I was about 6 years old. I remember watching Comic Relief with my dad when I was 6, and seeing George Carlin do his like famous "My stuff is stuff, your stuff is shit" bit, and I loved it, and I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. And so for years, I used to want to be a comic, but I was too afraid to go up there and try. And then I graduated from college in 2005. Or 2006, and then I just kind of started doing open mics in Baltimore and in Washington D.C. And then I had a cousin that's a producer out here. He works on different reality shows producing, and he was like, if you come out, I'll put you up. And so I just saved up money. I was working for The Wire in Baltimore, and I was working on this different TV show called Channel 1 News, and it was like I had to get out of Maryland. I'd done everything you could do there. I had bigger dreams and aspirations, and Baltimore couldn't handle that. You know what I mean? So I moved out August 1st, 2008, and worked behind the scenes for a while, and then around February of 2000. No, I moved out in 2007. I'm sorry. And then in the February of 2008, I started doing comedy, and then I just fell in love with it.
So you were an open micer in LA.
I was an open micer
in LA. You never tried it in Baltimore.
No. I tried it in Baltimore, but it's not. You know what I mean? Like, you go out to these small towns and you do stand up, and you could do the hackiest fucking black guys got big dicks and they love chicken, and that made the crowds go nuts, and like they loved that. And so I was like, oh man, I got it. Like, I'm gonna come out here and I'm just gonna move up so quick, and I'll be at the Comedy Store and the Laugh Factory, the Improv. And then I got out here and you saw real comics working on their craft, and I was like, all right, I gotta stay away from the clubs for a while and really hone my craft at these open mics. And so then I did. And then I quit the job working in television, and I just lived on couches and did whatever I could do just to keep doing comedy. And it was great. I mean, it was a lot of fun. It was hard. It's funny because I stunk so bad when I first started. I was horrible. And I knew people thought I was horrible, but in my head I was like, well, you might think I suck now, but just wait until I get my voice, and then you'll see how good I am. You know what I mean? I just kept my self-esteem high and just kept going out and just performing, and
Well, that's what we all do.
Well, exactly.
That's what we all do.
You keep your goals low, your self-esteem high, and you'll get everything that you want.
You really want to have a bad day. Start off the day and look at one of your open mic.
Oh God.
Oh yeah, that's embarrassing.
You would turn it off and fucking quit Facebook. Like, you're like,
that's how I feel when I watch like someone put up a clip from Star Search. It's like I just like cringe, like ugh,
Oh God,
you don't want to see nothing that isn't today. Yeah. And you thought, like, when you got here, you're like, bro, I was a bad motherfucker when I moved here. Watch one of those tapes today, and you're like, what possessed us?
That was terrible.
What gave us the balls to even think that we could do this?
Yeah.
Like, what gave you the balls to even think you could do this? And then you're here 8 years. Then you hear 9 years, 10 years, and just something fucking happens. But it's always something that keeps that dream alive. When you're on a couch with no money and you got to go shoplift, thank God there was a gas station by Vista that he was like an Iranian guy, and he was always working on cars. Because I would go in and buy a soda every day and stick my hand up and take a pack of cigarettes. Nobody could understand those open mic days. The open mic days will stay in. You remember that forever.
Sure.
Like, I spent my open mic days in Denver, but not really. They threw me out. My open mic days were really in Seattle, living over an office. And I'll tell you, no matter how good things get, you always think of those times. Mm-hmm. That was the blueprint to what made us. So don't ever Fuck, we were all shitty.
You can't, like, you got to know what the shit smells like to know what the flowers smell like. You know what I mean? You got to be, it's like that, the layer cake, man. It's like, hopefully, you start off in shit, and then eventually the shit's less and less, and then eventually you don't even smell shit anymore the harder you work. And I mean, well, that's what you hope, at least. I mean, there's some people that are just going to, I've seen open mic comics that have been doing it 9 years, and it's like they're still just horrible. And I don't want to be mean, but it's just like eventually you'd just be like, maybe I should.
You always want for better. I always to stand up because there's no fucking ceiling.
Yeah.
There's no fucking ceiling. When we get a job as a butcher, if we're union, it's $14, $16. Then you work at 22 fucking years at $18, and that's your ceiling. Exactly. You know what your check is going to be every week. With stand up, it's a fucking mystery. At the beginning of the month, I don't care how good you are or how bad you are, we all start at zero. Mm-hmm. June 1st, we're equal. We both started fucking zero. We started zero every fucking day as comedians, Mm-hmm. It's so weird. So this is the best thing about it. And you're here in LA, which is hard to be an open micer.
Yeah, it's really hard.
It's fucking hard here.
To be an open micer in LA.
This is like.
It's hard to be a comic in LA.
Yes, it's hard to be a comic in LA. Never mind fucking trying to get stage time and people look down and people categorize you. So it's the best time of your life. Now, when you came out here, like when I went to Seattle a couple months ago, I had Josh Wolf on the podcast. That was my open mic buddy. Nobody understands what an open mic buddy is. The buddy's that core of people. And it's weird when you're here for 15 years and you see what happens. These people go into different directions. But you all start at a fucking open mic. That's really fucking cool,
I was really blessed. I mean, my second open mic here in LA, I met the two people that I became best friends with. I met Angelo Bowers, my brother, and then I met my other brother, Gerard Carmichael. Both extremely funny guys that at a young age already kind of found their voice a little bit. Everybody loved them, and it was good for me because I still was trying to I knew what kind of comic I wanted to be. I just didn't know how to perform yet. I knew how to perform. I just didn't know how to go up there and be myself yet. That's actually a better way to say it. But I hung out with them and I watched them and they were already funny and it just made me work harder. You know what I mean? Because we'd go to open mics together. They'd both kill and I'd eat shit. And like people would come up to all three of us and be like, Gerard, you were hysterical. And Angelo, you're brilliant. And Josh, yeah. But Gerard, you were hysterical. And so it made me work harder. I always think that like as a comic or a musician or a writer or whatever, you want to surround yourself around people that challenge you. If you're the funniest guy in the group, then you're not hanging out with a good enough group. You know what I mean? Like you need to be around people that you want to be like. And I'm not saying you want to like steal from them or whatever, but they inspire you. And
they inspire you, man.
Yeah.
Listen, I always say shit with Felicia. She,
as you witnessed earlier.
Can you tell them, please, like what I walked into? Because I was like, is this the right house or is this a scene? Like, what the fuck is going on?
It's a mean way to look at things, but I learned this early on. You could. What's that expression my friend used to say? You could suck dick in a house, or you could suck dick in a mansion. It's up to you. It's really up to you. You could suck dick on a corner. You could suck dick in a 22-bedroom fucking house. That's all up to how the fuck you work it. And it's the same blowjob. We all got the same fucking mouth and the same teeth and the same fucking tongue.
Well, you're a little bit more motivated in the nice house.
Yeah, but also, I don't agree with that, man, because I've had some pretty bad blowjobs. Right, some girls use their own hands.
Right, but...
Oh, guys don't like the hand thing?
I like the Olive Garden thing. I like while she's sucking it and she kind of goes up with the hand. Like,
That's
I need to find a girl
thing.
like that. My last girl didn't know how to do it.
I don't like magic tricks with the hand. All that, with the wings and the birds and shit, and they squeeze under the nutsack like it's a blood pressure machine. There's no need for that shit. My dick, they try, there's like a little button under your butt. I don't like that either. Just stick to the cock, all right? You don't touch my nipples. Don't play with my long hair under my armpits. Just stick to the fucking helmet. Focus, you cocksucker. But it's really weird. Like, look at, I used to go to the Comedy Store like everybody else. Felicia used to go to the Comedy Store. And you go there and you do stand-up and you write. And you have dreams. And you go down there and there's a circle of guys talking about a room in Kansas that you could sell a lot of merch at. Okay? That's the circle I want to be in.
I don't want to be in that circle.
What I'm trying to say is there's more to life.
Sure.
I like to hang out with people that have an optimism that there's more to fucking life than just this. Well, there's got to be, and whether you're doing stand-up or whatever the fuck you're doing, there's got to be more to life. What the fuck am I missing? You know, and that's the people you want to hang out with. And
Sure.
surround you. People that always have doubts. I don't want to hang out with fucking guys that are like, let's go to the comedy store and then we'll go to fucking Iowa and sell T-shirts this weekend and make $800. There's a ceiling. You're putting a ceiling on you. I don't want to hang out with people that are all chasing the same fucking nickel.
Sure.
We all got to have a fucking different dream, and that's the thing. You got to hang out with people that motivate you, inspire you, you know, call you out, tell you, hey, dog, I don't like that fucking joke or something, because that's the hardest thing in the world. There's all these little things, and that's the group that you trust.
Well, we had a very supportive group. I think it was funny about my class of comics, with that the older classes like Tripoli and Brett Ernst and those guys would look at us and they were blown away by how supportive we were. Because, you know, in a sense, and you know it, man, as comics, we are all in competition, man. There's only so many stages. I always like to say it like stand-up comedy is like what they said about hip-hop in the 80s. Like, there's too many rappers, not enough DJs. You know what I mean? There's way too many guys that can spit lyrics, but there's not enough stages or beats to perform on. And that's kind of like it is here. I mean, we're all just rushing from one show to the next, from the Improv open mic to Bliss Cafe, from Bliss Cafe out to fucking Woodland Hills to do a shitty bar. And it was just, we would make sure that we had rides for everybody and we'd support everybody. And we wouldn't critique, but, you know, if somebody had a good set, we'd have a tag for somebody, we'd fill them in. And it was really this beautiful thing. And other older comics could not believe we were that supportive. I mean, they were just like in shock, because when they started, they were like, man, we had enemies and we hated each other. And, you know, I had like one real friend and we were in competition and we'd get pissed. And it was just, that's not the way you want to do this. I mean, I feel that there's enough room for everybody. I mean, I know there's not, but if you work hard and you're a good person and you really, really dedicate yourself to this, why can't you succeed? You know what I mean? That's the whole thing about this town, is that people just try to fake it, but they don't really work hard. Instead of really working on a craft, they're at the fucking W at the pool party, you know what I mean? Acting like they've already done shit. Or they're sitting at some cafe drinking coffee, acting like they're working on a script when they really could be working. That separates the two different types of people. And we just clicked so well that first day that I met those guys, and it was off to the races. And we just, every fucking day, we just dedicated ourselves. I mean, all three of us, me, Gerard, Ange, and then a couple other guys like John Shefsky and Rel Battle and Willie Hunter and Jamar Neighbors, we just gave up everything. We all didn't work. We all barely made any money or had just whatever we had saved, and we'd help each other out. If, like, when I was broke, usually because I spent my money on drugs, Angelo would make sure I ate, you know, and if I needed a place to stay, somebody would put me up. And then when I actually started working a little bit, Ange would stay with me and Gerard would stay with me, and it was a family, and it was exactly what I needed to really dedicate myself. Because the first 2 weeks that I started doing open mics, I was just so lonely, you know what I mean? It was just like, because nobody really accepted me yet. Like I said, I wasn't funny yet. I hadn't found my voice. And then I met, you know, you meet that friend, like you said, you meet that one guy that just gets you. And then it really was just this beautiful, beautiful friendship so early on, where we'd do spots and then we'd finish up by talking about the comedy. And then all day long, it was just texting about comedy. Where are we going tonight? You know, how are we going to get there? And blah, 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 blah. And it was great. Really made it fun, you know, when in such a bad time, when you really look back at where I was then, and I'm like, I mean, yeah, it was beautiful and we got to perform, but I mean, it was real struggling. I mean, barely ate, probably lost like 20 pounds in like the first month of doing comedy, and just, it was hard, but it made me stronger. It makes you appreciate, you know, when you start getting the spots and you start making a little bit of money off this. It's just how much fun it is. You know, I don't want to go back to that for Christ's sake, but I mean, I'm happy that I experienced it.
I wish I had time to do a triple run. We've had this conversation 1,000 fucking times. I wish I had time to get Felicia in a fucking car and get on the coast and just listen to music and go from room to room. I wish we had the fucking time.
Yeah.
Because you really realize you really don't know about another person till you smell their farts in a car after 8 hours of fucking driving, or their booze breath in the morning when you get in the fucking car. Mm-hmm. And then while you're doing it, you're like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like when you're getting up at 7 and you got to drive to Tuscaloosa and you got to be there by 3:30 to do radio at the Country Western Bar because there's a blood drive in town. And you're going to host a blood drive. That's part of your promotional activity. And you got, you know, it's usually a 9-hour drive, but you got to make it there. And this guy's drunk. And that's when you start the car and you're like, I should have listened to my parents.
I had thoughts like that once. I was in the middle of Pennsylvania with Tommy Blaze, and he starts to drive out. So men are just innately more funny than women, right? And it's like, oh, really, dude? Like, it was not good.
It's, because you get a lot of car with comics that you're like, this is going to be a long fucking
yeah.
Oh, I got a car with a comic one time that put on heckler lines that he taped at home practicing by himself.
Yeah.
And I go, what is this? And he goes, it's just an hour of me practicing in the mirror. Hey, where'd you learn how to whisper in a helicopter? That shit.
Yeah.
We were going to Greeley, Colorado. That stinks
Not
as
good.
it is. I love the club up there, but you don't know what that's like. So finally, after all these, you meet a group of fucking people. That's your world.
Sure.
Which you can never replace. I mean, the real reason I got into comedy was I didn't want a day job, and B, I read that book. And that group of people that Lenny Bruce hung out with, that's who I want to hang out with. I want to hang out with jazz people and strippers and do heroin at the Chelsea Hotel. That's why I got into this fucking shit. That bond. Now, what happened last December?
Well, we were starting December, actually. I think it would be better to start in September.
Let's do it.
Ange and I mean, like I said, we were inseparable for about 4 years. My brother. I mean, everything about that guy I loved. He had what I wanted, and I had what he wanted. Like, he had this beautiful personality, and forget him being funny, because that's completely secondary to how good of a person he was. He cared about people, and when he was around you, you felt like you were the most important person when you were talking to him. And he did that with everybody. I mean, he was just a beautiful soul. And Ange and I did this show at Performance Anxiety. It was at the Pleasure Chest. It's a dildo store on Santa Monica Boulevard. And Ange went up right before Sarah Silverman. And Ange crushed. I mean, just crushed. And I look over at Sarah, and she's crying, laughing. And then as the host brings Angelo off and brings Sarah up, she grabs Ange and says, wait right here, I want to talk to you. And I'm thinking in my head, this is it. Like, he's going to have the same thing that happens with him that happened with Harris Whittles, where she sees a comic she likes and she's going to bring him and take him to the next level. Because Ange didn't promote himself. That's how beautiful he was. He was like, I just want to do comedy. I don't want to promote on Facebook. He didn't have a Facebook or a Twitter. He cared about just the jokes. Comedy, yeah. He got up every day. He'd leave my house at noon, and I'd beg him. I'd be like, dude, come on, let's go to a movie. My treat. Can't, Josh. Can't. Got to go on the Vision Quest. And he had to go to like a bar, not a bar, but a bookstore or a coffee bar or a library and just write jokes. And he'd write 40 jokes a day and then perform them at night. Every open mic, whatever he could do to get up. He just loved the craft. So he does the show with Sarah. She grabs him afterwards and she says, listen, I think you're one of the funniest guys I've ever seen. Give me your number. I'm working on this project. I want to join you in on it. He wasn't even that excited. He held it back. And I was just like, oh, this is it, Ange. This is your big break. And then that night he spends the night at my house. And in the morning, I wake up at 8 a.m. and he's gone. And he writes for some other comics. And usually he'd meet up with them around noon, to help them if they were doing Chelsea Lately or whatever. But Ange was gone, and he never usually is gone that early. And I'm calling him because I knew something was up. Finally, around 2 p.m., he gets back to me, and he's like, Josh, I'm in the hospital. I was having chest pains last night, and I walked to the hospital, and I was like, wait, I was in the other room, and you didn't wake me up? You were having chest pains, for Christ's sake. I would have gotten up. He's like, I didn't want to bother you. Like, that's how selfless he was. You know what I mean? He walked. He actually went to the Sherman Oaks Hospital, the one on Van Nuys Boulevard, took a train from Wilshire and Plymouth to the Sherman Oaks. They couldn't get him in quick enough, so then he went back on the train to go to the, I think it's Hollywood Presbyterian, the one on Vermont. Mm-hmm. And they found that he had a tumor in his chest, and it was causing pressure on his heart. So he was scared, and I got really scared because the idea of losing him was just like, it was unimaginable. Like it's actually funny. I said to my friend at the time, I said, if I lose my girlfriend, I'll be okay because I have Angelo. If I lose Angelo, I'll be devastated because that's my brother. And over the next 2 weeks, because of Obamacare, which for people that don't think that what he did was great, Obamacare got Angelo the insurance he needed. It might have taken a while, but he got to have the the biopsy, which they found out at first it wasn't cancerous. And then he got to have the tumor removed. And then they did find out it was cancerous, but he got all that done, and we have a pre-existing condition. So, I do kind of believe that does work. And so Ange is gone for about 3 months. I call him every day, and he stayed positive, and he's like, I just can't wait to get back. And it was great, just knowing that he was going to be all right. And December 8th, my girlfriend of 3 years who I lived with, who 2 weeks before, when I said to her, I was like, listen, babe, I was like, the only two people I got in this town are you and Angelo. That's all I got. I love you both more than anything in the world. And she's like, well, don't worry, I'm not going anywhere, and Ange isn't going anywhere. She comes home December 8th in the morning and goes, I'm leaving you for this guy. And that was just like, holy shit, because we lived together, we had dogs together, you know, we had a family. It was really weird because I lived in a really nice place. She really wanted that family life, and people would come over to my house and be like, wow, you're living way above your means, man. And I'd be like, well, you know, I got a good girl and blah, blah, blah. So she leaves me, and I'm sad, but I'm like, I got Angelo, and Angelo's going to be all right. And then I go back home to Baltimore, to visit my mom, and on the 21st I get the phone call, Ange is going to be fine. It was cancerous, but he doesn't have any more cancer in his body, and he's coming back to LA.
It was December 21st.
December 21st. That was the greatest news I'd ever gotten. I remember I was with my mom, and we both I start weeping because I'm so happy. Because I was so sad because, I forgot to mention, she left me, she moves in with the guy, she tells me she loves the guy, and then I called Ange when she said she loves him after a week of knowing this guy. And I saw Ange, I'm like, she's going to be engaged by New Year's Eve. Bet. I will bet fucking money she'll be engaged by New Year's Eve. Because she's a crazy fucking bitch like that, you know what I mean? She just needs love. She needs that, she's, what is it called, codependent? She's codependent like a motherfucker. Not to talk shit about her, but if you guys want her name, you can email me, and then we can all shit on her.
Oh, shit.
So I'm so sad that, you know, that Ange is sick. I don't have him when I need him. I did have him one day after she broke up with me. The next day after she broke up with me, he was in town for a week just to do spots, and we walked around for like 5 hours, and it was the most beautiful thing because I knew that I didn't need her because I had Ange. And then I got the news on the 21st, like I said, and then we talked every day, and then she got engaged on New Year's, and he called me. He's like, is everything all right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, don't worry, I'll be back. On the 3rd or the 2nd of January, I fly from Baltimore to Chicago, and I call Ange, and we talk all day. I hide out in one of those baby changing rooms in the airport at O'Hara, and I just smoke cigarettes, and I'm just talking to him on the phone for like 6 hours until my flight. And we're so excited. We're going to meet up at a spot right when I get back into town. I get in around 9 o'clock. I finally get back to my old apartment, drop my keys off, pick up my car, look around the old apartment one last time, you know, what I had with the girlfriend, get really sad, go to my new apartment, drop my bag off, and then go to the spot to meet Ange, and we both perform. And it was this really beautiful thing because I'm on stage and I'm shitting on my ex-girlfriend, and then I stop and I go, but I used to think that my ex was the love of my life, but I know she wasn't. I go, Angelo, you are the love of my life. You are the best friend I have ever had, and I am so fucking happy that you are back. I need you here, and I know everything's going to be okay because you love me and I love you, and we just, you know, we're going to do this together. And then he yells out from the back, Josh, you're the love of my life. I love you more than anybody. We hug each other. We talk for a second to some other comics. And knowing that I was in a bad mood and I hadn't eaten, he's like, let's go get some food. Let's go to Carney's. We used to always go to Carney's because there was this big jam there on Tuesday nights. The best musicians in LA just jamming on different songs. And I'm like, nah, let's not go to Carney's tonight. Let's go to House of Pies. And that's, to me, I still regret that decision because we just would have gone to Carney's. What happened next wouldn't have happened, which was we're on Vine going north laughing about my ex, just shitting on her, like just having the best time, and we're making fun of her new fiance because I think he's gay. I bet my balls on the fact that I think this guy is gay. And I'm like, yeah, I'm pointing out where he lives up on Franklin. I'm like, yeah, that's where that fucking faggot lives. And Angelo just yells out, yeah, that guy's a mega fag. And we're just laughing. And then we go through Vine and Yucca, and then the next thing I know, I wake up and I'm on the ground, covered in blood. Outside of my car. A drunk driver ran the red light and hit us going 86 miles an hour. Hit right on Ange's side, spun the car around, threw me from the car, and then, you know, I went to the hospital and I thought everything was going to be okay. And then the next day I found out that he passed, which was the hardest thing in the world I've ever heard because I knew something was up because everybody was coming into the room the next day and being very quiet and subdued, and I kept asking about where Ange was, and then nobody said anything. And then Angelo's mom walked into the room, and I hugged her and I kissed her, and I was like, how's Ange doing? And then she's like, nobody told you? And then my heart just froze for a second. And then she explained what happened, and then I don't remember really the next 2 days, because they just had me on like Valium and Klonopin, just because I was in such bad shape. I mean, I fractured my skull, I had broken my jaw, I had lost the hearing in my right ear, broke my arm, have nerve damage in my neck. So I was in a lot of pain, but every time I started thinking about Angie, I started weeping and just trying to move around. I just got so mad, so they just had to keep me sedated. And it's been a long road since then, to get back to reality, I guess.
No, Angelo was from Chicago, correct?
Angelo is from Modesto.
Really?
He's from a little. He called it Shit Town.
As most people from Modesto who have escaped.
But he loved the fact that he would brag every time he would say he's from Modesto. He'd be like, "Yep, the home of Jeremy Renner, Academy Award nominee." Jeremy Renner, and I was like, that's all you got? Like, that's it? And
he's
like,
from
that's
Modesto?
Yeah. Oh, Jeremy Renner and Timothy Oliphant. He loved the fact that both of those guys were from them. But he started out there, and he would go to Brainwash, the open mic, and just, he had a weird family. I've met them all, and I mean, I love them to death, but because they make, your family makes you who you are. Those crazy, but you need all the crazy people. You need that drug addict uncle. You need all those people in your family. But yeah, he was from Shit Town. I went up there, and it was, God, I mean, I don't even know how the fuck he got out of there. It was just horrible, Modesto. Not to shit on people. If there's people from Modesto listening, I'm really sorry.
My best friend is from Modesto.
Who?
Well,
Wendy.
Really?
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah,
She just
she's
said
Modesto
that.
girl. Yeah.
Really?
My sister-in-law is from Modesto, but she always pretends she doesn't know what a carburetor on a pipe is. And I am always like, you're from fucking Modesto, bitch. Figure it out.
Josh, how has life been?
Wow. Right now it's great, but the last 5.5 months were probably the worst 5.5 months of my life. I've had drug problems on and off. When you start off, it's drinking and then smoking pot, and then I moved to psychedelics, then I moved to cocaine, and I never learned how to drink unless I had coke. You know what I mean? Because I was just I didn't know you're supposed to stop. You know what I mean? I just kept going and going and going, and so I would drink and do coke. And in Baltimore, that's all people do. They drink, do coke, work in a mill or at a bar, or work at a strip club, and then, watch the Orioles. That's all people do in Baltimore. So there was a lot of partying out there, and I screwed up a bunch. I had 3 DUIs. I made a lot of mistakes, but I got my 3rd DUI back in 2005, and I realized I shouldn't drink. And then I moved kind of onto painkillers, and I just take them recreationally, and then on and off throughout the relationship I was in with Ange. When I started comedy, I would do them for a few weeks, and I'd be off for a few months, and I'd do them for a month, and I'd be off for 6 months, and it would just go back and forth, but it never got out of hand. But when the accident happened, I just gave up, and at this point, the doctors are giving me not just Vicodin, they're giving me the strongest painkillers out there. They're giving me Oxycontin, they're giving me oxymorphine, they're giving me Dilaudid, and in my head, I said to myself, no, I'm allowed to take these right now. Do you know what I mean? Like, I am allowed to get high right now because I lost my girlfriend and my best friend in a month. After I put out to the universe that, you're my 2 favorite people, you're all I got, and they're both gone within weeks. And I just completely fell apart. Well, I didn't want to say at first I fell apart. At first I actually needed them, and then the pain started subduing, and I try to get off, but I started getting so depressed when I wasn't taking them, and they were the only thing that really made me happy, because I didn't deal with Ange gone. I didn't deal with Brittany gone. I hadn't had time to deal with Brittany gone because I lost Ange 3 weeks later. So it was a long road to recovery, because the only thing that made me happy was doing stand-up, yet the only way I could do stand-up was if I was high. And it was this back and forth where all day long I stayed in bed and just took painkillers, and then I got a show in about an hour, and I took 3 of them, or I snorted some, and then I just went out to the show and did my best.
You need to put out there that you did shows pretty quickly after getting out of the hospital, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I kind of regret that I did that, because I should have taken more time off. I mean, we feel that, or at least I believed that, my career is doing very well, and I'm blessed to be where I'm at, considering I've been doing stand-up 4 years, which is nothing, and I know that, and I'm getting better, and blah, 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 blah. But I was in the hospital for about 9 days, and the last 2 days I probably could have gone home, but I just really liked the food and the drugs they were giving me, and I didn't want to go, and they had good television. Because I was really into A&E at the time, and they were doing like a Storage Wars marathon. So I was like, I'm gonna stay here and just chill and eat this fucking chicken parmesan, and take my Dilaudid every half hour. So I left. I got out on a Thursday, and then on the next day, on the Friday, I went to the Comedy Store with a friend because they were doing a memorial video for Angelo to play at one of the memorial fundraisers for Ange. And I recorded my bit, which was the video was beautiful. If anybody wants to watch it, it's on YouTube. Just type in Angelo Bowers, and it'll probably pop up. And that night I ran into Tommy of the Comedy Store, world famous Sir Tommy, as Angie used to call him. And Tommy was like, I want you, he goes on this dissertation about life and death for about 45 minutes, where I think he mentioned Mitzi about 300 times. And then he's like, listen, I want you to come around here as much as you can. He's like, we love you here, and we want you to get up, and we know that you're a great comic, and we just want to make you happy. And so you come here, you'll call in your avails, and we'll put you up. And so that night, I was just like, I felt good because I was so fucked up on these drugs. I just started attacking the stage. And so that night I did 2 sets, and the next night I did 2 sets, and the next night I did 3 sets, and so on. I just started performing because the only time I felt back to normal was when I was on stage. At that moment, when you're doing that 10 or 15 minutes, I didn't think about the accident. I didn't think about the drugs. I thought about the moment that I'm in front of these people entertaining them, and how lucky I am that I get to do it, and how Ange doesn't, And I felt very close to him when I was on stage, and it was beautiful. But what was funny was that as I'm having these great sets, because I was loaded, and when you're loaded on painkillers, you don't give a fuck about anything. I didn't care. I just went up and just was scratching myself on stage and talking about whatever. And everybody thought I was really doing well. They're like, wow, Josh seems to be back to normal. But in reality, I was lost. I was more depressed than I've ever been. I had suicidal thoughts. I was taking drugs like I wanted to overdose. That was in my head. I was like, if I overdose right now, I could give a fuck. I just didn't care.
Sure.
I gave up on life, really. I gave up on what was important, and it was because I didn't have anybody. And the other thing too, this is to mention, everybody was so beautiful. All the comics that came to visit me, all the comics that called me, everybody was so beautiful. And they were like, we want to take you out to lunch, we want to hang out with you, if you need to go to a doctor's appointment, whatever you need, because I didn't have a car the first month. But because of the drugs, I made myself seem normal. People started thinking I was okay, and eventually they have to go back to their life. That's understandable. After a while, you just got to say, all right, we have to move on as well. So a month after the accident, I got a car. And once I got a car, I had a bank account full of money, a car, and I started pushing people away, and people weren't calling as much. And then I just began to isolate and just stay in my room and do drugs all day, and then go to my show, and then I just go downtown and get my drugs, or I drive myself to my pain management doctor in Beverly Hills and get a refill of the strongest painkillers out there, and it was just gone. And I would make comments to friends that I knew were in the program, like, man, I'm really not doing well right now, I can't get off the painkillers, and nobody was really helping me. I had to help myself. But the whole time I knew, I am killing myself. Stop. But that's what's funny about that, about being an addict, is that even though you are doing something wrong, and I didn't want to take them, but I had to, because the dope sickness got so intense, and the longer I took them, the sickness got worse and worse and worse. And so basically I kind of hit a bottom. Luckily, it wasn't a horrible bottom. I just somebody lent me $200 to get my car fixed. My battery died. This is a month ago, and it got so out of hand. It was like, because I got off it for a while. I got off for a month taking this like methadone type stuff called Suboxone that a friend gave me, and it worked great. But when I ran out of that, I immediately went back on the painkillers, and it got out of hand. It was just because I went from just taking them orally to snorting them, and then I'm snorting 10 a day, and then I'm snorting 20 a day. And really strong painkillers that should kill people. And a friend lends me money to get my battery changed in my car, and I immediately call my drug dealer. And I drive from Sunset and Poinciana to 7th and Main during rush hour. So I go from West Hollywood to downtown LA in 15 minutes during rush hour. Breaking traffic laws, just trying to get down there as fast as I can because my drug dealer's like, you got 20 minutes to get down here. This crippled guy, by the way, this guy that became my best friend, this crippled guy with the fucking eye drop tattoos and like big black guy. And it's just, he was my best friend at that point because I called him every fucking day. And I meet him. I don't even turn my car off because I can't because the battery will die. Get my painkillers, leave myself $10 to get food for 3 days while I wait for this big check that's coming in for some voiceover work. And then I drive to 3rd and Main at like 7 p.m. and I'm crushing up these painkillers in broad daylight, just snorting them on the side of 3rd and Main, which is a pretty high traffic street. And that's when it hit me. I was like, I am a fucking junkie and I gotta stop. And then the next day, a friend came to take me out to lunch and I had taken a few painkillers because I had a few left over. And then I just get in the car. And for the first time in 5.5 months, I was honest with somebody. And I just laid it all out. I started weeping and just saying, I have a problem. I can't get through it. Every time I try to get off, I get dope sick. And she goes, I'm going to help you get through it. And so my friend, Julia, who I love more than anybody in the world, was there for me when I needed her. And she helped me get through the detox. She showed up the next day and she called AAA. We got my car fixed. I paid for it or whatever. And then we went out to lunch. And then she brought me these fresh juices and just kind of... We threw out all my chemicals that I had in my house, all the benzos, which is what I would take when I didn't have painkillers because it put me to sleep, and I just dealt with it. I just dealt with the pain, and I made this video diary during all 4 days of the detox, talking about how shitty I felt and how depressed I was, but how excited I was that I'll have my life back. And actually, it was funny. On the second day, I went to a spa in not Beverly Hills, but on Beverly Boulevard, in Koreatown. And I walked in, and I was just gonna go in the sauna and the hot spring water they have there. But when I walked in, there was this cute girl working the front desk, and I'm just like, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm going through an opiate detox. What do you recommend? And she's like, all right, a full body massage and a body scrub. And I'm like, let's fucking do it. And then I go in, and so I'm sweating out all these toxins, right? Feeling like shit. And then after that, I had to perform at UC Northridge in front of 1,000 kids. I have a contract with them. I can't break the show, you know what I mean, because I need this money. Never been sicker in my life. I literally walk into the school. There's, like I said, 1,000 kids. I go up to the guy paying me and I go, listen, man, I don't feel very well. Is there a place I can lay down? He goes, no, not really. I go, okay. I'm going to lay down right here on the floor. You're going to wake me up when there's 1 minute before I have to go on stage. And then he does that. I go up there. I had a great time because I just lived in that moment. And I mean, I was in my head, I was like, I'm so sick. If I eat shit, I could give a shit. You know what I mean? It's not about comedy right now. It's about my recovery. And I had a great time, and then I immediately went home. Actually, no, I had to go to the Ha-Ha after that, and I did the same thing to Terry and Augustino. I was like, listen, guys, I love you to death. Can I please go up early? I can't? Okay. I'm going to lay down on that couch in the back. You're going to wake me up when Jeff Garcia's done doing his 45 minutes. You wake me up, and I'll go right up. And once again, I had a great time, and then the next 2 days, I just recovered, and then I woke up on the fourth day, and I felt good. I immediately went to an AA meeting. Well, I went to AA throughout the whole detox, but I mean, I went to one clear-headed finally.
And where you at today? You clean?
I am 100% clean, and I'm not gonna lie, man. I've never been better.
You look good.
Thank you. I feel good, and that's the thing, man. Is that, you know, drug addicts tend to live in the past. You know, a lot of the stuff that drug addicts go through is because something they did or something that their father said or just whatever. Like, we live in the past, and I'm just reading about all this different stuff, not just in the big book, not just on, I'm reading about enlightenment, and I was, just different Buddhist philosophies, and I'm meditating now, and I'm trying to find other ways to get inspired and to get high on life, because we are all blessed, especially me, considering I almost died. I should be the one that died that day. Because,
well, do you feel that? Do you have guilt? Do you feel...
Of course. I mean, how could you not? I mean, of course you have guilt. I mean, you know how hard it was to call Ange's mom the second week, because Ange was this beautiful soul, and I look at myself like I'm this piece of shit. I'm a junkie at the time. I was good because of him. I mean, he made me a better person. And Ange, I felt extremely guilty because Ange had just beaten cancer. Like, he deserved another shot. Like, Ange was I wouldn't say he was my insurance policy, but we both called each other our insurance policies for our careers. If Ange made it first, he takes me. If I made it first, I take Ange. And every project we had or we were working on, we worked on together, and it was like we had a lot of cool things we were working on. So I just couldn't deal with it. I couldn't deal with the fact that I couldn't be with him and he couldn't be there while all this great stuff was going to happen, because we kept talking about what we were going to do. Like, oh man, I can't wait till we can go to this restaurant when we got money, and I can't wait to go to this concert when we have money. And it was hard to accept that I still could and he couldn't. And I felt really guilty because I was thrown from the car. I was the one that was thrown from the car. I landed on my head. I broke my skull. I should have been the one that died. Andrew stayed in the car. He had the safety belt on. I had a safety belt on too, but my safety belt was just a piece of shit. It was an old Jeep. And we used to kid around all the time about that car. We used to say, because I had a Jeep for 14 years. And it was a death trap. We used to say that. If we get into an accident, we're fucked. And we kid around. And it was like, holy shit, that actually was true. And so I felt guilty. I felt horrible.
I have never struggled with addiction. I mean, Joey has. But when you tell that story, and I hope I'm not being impolite, as you were driving downtown to go score on that day, you know, you said you made it in 15 minutes. Did the irony strike you, like, I'm fucked up and I'm driving after everything you just went through?
Well, here's the thing. I had gotten painkillers. Didn't really make me down. They actually gave me energy. They made me feel like, you know, like I was the best way to explain painkillers was like, imagine being in a room and knowing you feel better than every single person in there. You know what I mean? Like, you're feeling $1 million worth of confidence. Like, you felt like you were a billionaire and everybody was not below you, but you were just like, you knew you felt better. So I actually drove really, I hate, that sounds so horrible to say. I mean, knowing now and looking back at what it's like to drive clear-headed and what it's like to drive on drugs, that day was different. That day was, I'm a junkie. I need to get downtown as fast as I can. All I want to do is get high. If I can't meet this guy in 15 minutes, I got to drive to fucking Arcadia to go meet him later, and that's the worst. I mean, driving up the fucking 134 at 9 o'clock, it's still packed. And I just, I broke a lot of traffic laws. I mean, those are the things that have to happen for somebody to realize that you are fucked up, and I am lucky that I didn't kill somebody. Thank God I didn't. That would have been horrible, but you're not in the right state of mind. Yeah. I mean, I'd already snorted probably 5 or 6 pills that day, and then I wanted to get more. So it just, look at Robert Downey Jr. The guy had everything. And I mean, he's running down Hollywood Boulevard or Sunset Boulevard with naked. This is a respectable actor at one point, but I mean, you don't think when you're just trying to score. And I mean, I just didn't care about anything at that moment besides my drugs. I didn't care about my career. I didn't care about my mom. I didn't even want to think about Angela or my girlfriend. I just wanted to get high. I used to have a really bad relationship with God, and I'm still working on it right now, because I was always like, woe is me, like, why would you do this to me? Why do I get another DUI? Why am I broke right now? Why am I this? And I'm always asking questions instead of trying to figure out solutions. Ange passed, and there was this 4 days in between from the accident until when I officially got sober, where I actually got clean for about 4 days. I couldn't handle it because I was so depressed and I couldn't deal with it yet. And I'm driving up La Brea, listening to some Elton John song, that I knew Ange liked or whatever, and I'm just weeping. And I start talking to him like, Ange, if you're out there, man, please give me a sign. I love you, I miss you. And I'm turning onto Fountain. And by the way, it's the day of the Oscars too, so a lot of the streets are shut down. So that's why I'm turning onto Fountain, and I pull on the Fountain off La Brea, and standing in this parking lot is Nick Nolte. And it makes me immediately start laughing because I think of this joke that Angelo wrote. Angelo had this joke that goes, women say I have an ugly penis. They say it looks like Nick Nolte coughing. And it just makes me start laughing because at that moment, when I needed him, he was there. And so that made me get a little spiritual, but then immediately a day later I go back on drugs because I just couldn't handle it. Because the crying is just, you cry and you cry and it becomes so intense. It's gut-wrenching. It's not just tears, it's like weeping. And now I embrace it. I love when I get sad because it makes me know how much I loved him. You know, my dad actually died 2 years ago from about a week ago, not even, from the 22nd or 23rd, I think he died. And I was extremely sad because, like you were saying earlier about your relationship with your father, you know, I was really lucky that my dad passed. You know, we had a really bad relationship for a long time. I was the black sheep of the family. None of them had ever done drugs. And I mean, my parents saw me at my worst a few times. I mean, just they really got to see how bad I was. But, you know, my dad never forgot. You know what I mean? He always remembered the time I came home tripping balls and I trashed my room and was naked and running around the house. You know, my dad would never forgot that. My dad never forgot when I got drunk at my cousin's bar mitzvah and threw up on myself. He never forgot that shit. And because I had a sister that's a doctor and has got 3 kids and she never got in trouble and she's, you know, just a beautiful, beautiful person. And so right around when he died, you know, we kind of made amends because he got sick and he survived this bad, he had an aneurysm in his heart and he survived this surgery. And I got through it because I had Angelo and I had my girlfriend at the time and I had a big, good support system. And I cried, but I never cried as hard, or I've never cried as long or for so long as when Ange passed. Because, you know, with your father, you know, like I said, the relationship wasn't good. I love him, but, you know, he was always a dad and he was strict against me, and the grudges he held, it wasn't like, and he had a lot of problems too. So when he died, I almost was like, finally he's at peace. Do you know what I mean? He doesn't have to worry about, you know, the mistakes he made in life. But with Ange, there was so much more life left in him. I mean, the kid was about to turn 28. You know, the Sarah Silverman thing. I mean, he was going to permeate pop culture. Angelo was going to write for Kimmel or Letterman and just be enormous. And so I still get sad. The other night, I got to open for Dave Attell at the Irvine Improv, who's one of my favorite comics and is Angelo's favorite comic. And they have the same similar joke writing style, not the subject matter, but just the same misdirection and non sequiturs. And I go there and I perform, and then I'm watching Dave Attell do an hour, and I'm just in tears laughing because he's so brilliant. And halfway through, the tears turn from joy into sadness because it makes me think how good Ange would have been at 20 years and how great it would have been to see him do an hour, really at the top of his craft. And I just start crying, and nobody really knew because they thought I was just laughing, and I continued to keep laughing, but I just became really sad. But like I said, you have to embrace that. It makes you feel human. Makes you feel like a real person when you can do that, clear-headed, and know that he affected you so strongly. And I'll never forget about him. And I have dealt with it, you know, now. I mean, like I said, when I get sad, I cry. And I talk to him every morning. I wake up in the morning, I say, Ange, you know, please help me throughout the day, put people in my path that I can help, and watch over me, because I know nothing, and it's all up to you, man. And he's like my higher power now that I speak to. And I talk to him all day long. The other day, I was DJing at the strip club, and this stripper gives me a slice of pizza, and then later in the day I go, hey, can I have another slice? And she goes, yeah, go ahead. And then she starts drinking, and she comes up to me and she's like, you ate another slice of pizza? And I'm like, listen, Cilantro, you said I could have another slice of pizza. And she's like, just starts screaming at me. And I'm like, listen, I guess I was wrong. You're right, I'm wrong. And she continues to scream and scream and scream. And I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, this fucking crazy bitch is driving me nuts. She is so fucked up right now. And then I am about to blow up at her and go, listen, you crazy bitch. You said I could have a fucking slice of pizza, you drunk cunt. Like, don't you fucking remember? And she's screaming and screaming. And I just stop. And I go, and I keep saying, you're right, I'm wrong. You're right, I'm wrong. And I just go, all right. And I just walk away. And I go out and I talk to Ange. And I felt better. And I felt happy at that moment that I didn't go back to my old self and just yell at this girl, even though I knew I was right. But I got to give her the props. I got to be like, she's a drunk stripper named Cilantro. I'm going to let her fucking...
Is her name really Cilantro?
Nah, I like that name. I can't give her a real name just in case, you know, somebody comes to my club or whatever. But
what's funny is about this story is that, you know, I lost my mother and I lost 2 best friends growing up. And I went into a fucking tailspin. But after I lost my comic buddy, Marilyn Martinez, was when my life really changed. Because it felt like I finally had a purpose in comedy.
Sure.
I was doing something for her. I was doing what she wasn't doing.
Exactly.
I lost the weight. I stopped doing blow. You know, I started writing more. I started paying more attention to it. So it's not, and I sit there and I talk to her some mornings and I giggle and, you know, so I understand this whole fucking thing you're doing. I got a lot of respect for you, Josh Meyers.
Thank you. You know, that's what's funny that you just mentioned that, because my mom, I was very honest with my mom during the whole process, and I love my mom to death. She's that never-ending love, the consistent love that you need, and she doesn't judge me. You know, she knows I fucked up, and she knows I made mistakes. She knows I'm a good person. And I told her, I was like, Ma, I can't get off the painkillers, and I'm just so depressed, and I don't want to do comedy anymore. I just don't want to be around all these sad people. And because, you know, comics can be, like you said, man, they're fucking miserable people, you know, because they don't enjoy the moment that they're already out here doing it. They worry about, this guy's got it and I don't have it. And I used to think like that. I used to be like, why does this guy have so much and I have so little when I'm more talented than this guy? And you can't think like that because it'll kill you, man.
Yeah.
And you can't be competitive either.
Exactly.
I was competitive when I first got here, and it fueled my addiction. You're going to do what you're going to do. Felicia's going to do what she's going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
Exactly.
And you know what? Either we could learn from one another, or we could bang fucking heads. It's up to you.
Exactly.
And that's the beauty of this thing. And when you get something, you shine a light on Felicia, and somebody shines a light on you. And that's what the beauty is about. I'll tell you, man, I have no regrets about getting into comedy. I have no regrets about sleeping on the floor. I have no regrets about fucking living for 10 years like a pauper and being addicted. I have no regrets. I have 1,000 other regrets. But I have no regrets of shitting off a fucking balcony in Seattle when I paid $125 to live in an office. And that's the beauty of it. It's just fucking grasping this. And you got it, brother. I mean,
Yeah, that's for sure.
You
That's
really
for
do.
sure.
You're doing great. And like I said, Felicia said something I didn't want to interject. She said that she saw you a couple nights after the thing. When I walked in there to that improv and I saw you, you remember how I looked at you? I just walked past you. I was like, this isn't him. This can't be Josh. It can't be. He's in the fucking hospital. And I walked, and then after I got off stage, I go, if that's this motherfucker, you're crazy. But this is what you need to do.
Sure.
You need to move on. And I hugged you, and listen, man, when it comes to death, I know how to treat it because I could go to the hospital with you and see you and jump up and down. I knew Angelo from Spots. I didn't know him. And I knew you from Spots, basically the fucking ha-ha.
Sure.
And I would sit back and watch you guys because I was there alone, but you guys were there as a group.
Sure.
And I would think of my times in Seattle, having $4 and you having 2 and Felicia having 1. And us going, we got $8. What do you want to do?
Why does she have 1? Why'd you give the girl $1?
Well,
She had the
whatever,
more.
you know.
That's how it is around here, Josh. As you witnessed when you came to the door and we were
God.
screaming at each other.
Oh, that was beautiful. Listeners, they are crazy.
And he was like, cilantro, you stupid cunt.
I didn't call you a stupid cunt.
No, but I think I heard cocksucker. I think I heard you fucking bitch. 8 years. 8 times in 2 years. I was like, should I leave? Should I get the fuck out of here?
Well, I know. When Joey gets going, you can't shut him down. You just got to fucking be like, oh, yeah? Well, then, fuck yeah.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you got some BF balls.
said,
I love that,
guys.
Felicia.
When I fucking woke up this morning and I see my wife on the couch ready to go to work, it just fucked my day up completely. It just...
But why would it? She's going to work. Like, that's like,
Because
that
I
means
thought
she's
she
going
was
out.
going to be sick.
Ah,
She
okay.
was sick at 3 in the morning. When I got up at 3, she fucking came out eating crackers and puking. So I'm like, oh, we're in for another day of this fucking drama tomorrow. So I just expected to get up and have a protein shake and have an hour or 2 to unwind.
Sure.
Now I gotta fucking get dressed and take a shower and take her to work. And I gotta feed the fucking cats and clean the litter boxes. I gotta do this in a fucking 45 minutes. When you're not awake and you smell a litter box, that will throw you the fuck off for a loop, okay? You need to be awake before you smell some cat's ass.
You need to get some fresh step, dude. Get some fucking fresh
no,
step,
the
dude.
litter box is great. It's just when you do it, it's like when you go to Starbucks now.
Sure.
You go to Starbucks lately. I just want a cup of coffee, and they ask you, do you want milk in it? Do you want something to eat? Do you have a Starbucks card? I just want fucking coffee. Ask me this shit in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
You need
You're
the
like,
coffee
what?
before you ask the question.
Yeah, you're like, what? You don't even want to fucking talk. They're like, oh, ask me. And you're like, what? That's what it was like this morning. So, work.
You need to get a goddamn coffee
Now I'm
machine
fucking
in your
awake.
house.
Now I'm fucking awake. That was great.
You need to get a coffee machine in your house. And
No,
just
I
start
got
brewing.
the coffee machine at the house.
Good,
It was
all
on.
right.
But you don't understand. You got to hit it first, sit down. I take 2 bong hits. I go on fucking YouTube. I go on Facebook. This morning, I had to change the litter boxes. I was drinking the fucking coffee.
Oh, yeah, that's bad.
That's bad. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Usually you wake up, you have an hour to fan your balls, scratch your head, look out the window at that fucking bird that landed on the tree, and ask yourself, what continent did he come with? You know what I'm saying? Because you got that type of fucking time. Like, what continent did that yellow belly sapsucker come from? Let me Google him. It's got nothing to do with your world, but you got that type of time. You know what I'm saying? I got time.
Wow, that was an insight to your soul, Joey, right there.
That's true. When you wake up in the morning, it's great to look at something and go, why did God give me 2 balls instead of 1? Those are the questions you answer at 6 in the morning when you got time. You got 2 hours to Google, why did God give me 2 nuts? But if I get up and I ain't got that time and now you're throwing this shit at me, I got to digest all this shit. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
Thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, thank you so much, Josh.
I learned a lot from these fucking podcasts. And today, I tell you, I'm happy that you were a guest. You're what I needed today. Sometimes you're what, because it brought back a lot of shit that, we've gone through deaths. Felicia's mom. So we know where you're coming from. So,
is there anything that you have coming up that you would like to share?
I'm at the Improv, I think, on June 2nd. I'm there this Thursday. One thing I want to say, and it's not even about me, it's what I'm trying to do is get Angelo's name out there. I'm never going to forget about him. And a lot of comics that knew him aren't going to as well. But, he was very secretive about his comedy. He like I said, he didn't promote. So what I've done is gotten all the clips we can get that he recorded, audio or video. It doesn't make a difference. We're putting him on YouTube. So if you go on YouTube, type in Angelo Bowers and just watch his comedy. And if you find it funny, just tell a friend, man. Just pass it on. And one thing that I'm doing, which was one of the reasons I went to go see Attell, was I'm going to start putting together a fundraiser every year for cancer research, because that almost beat him, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving in Angelo's name. And it's going to be like a celebration of his life right around his birthday in February of every year. And I mean, Attell's
his birthday?
It was February 28th, man. Good. And he was so close to being 28, and it's just, there's, you know what I mean? It's like, he wasn't big enough where everybody knows who he is. So I got to get that name out there. I mean, it's like, I just want everybody to know. So I'm putting together this show. Attell said he'd do it if he's in town, and I'm just getting Angelo's favorite comics and all his buddies. And so we're going to do that at the Comedy Store. If to keep up on that show, I'm on Twitter, at Josh Adam Meyers. Last name spelled Meyers, and that'll tell you all the shows that are coming up. And also, even better, there is a Twitter feed for Angelo, because Ange didn't have one, and somebody's in control of it. It's called Angelo's Jokes, and every day they post one of Angelo's jokes up there, and they're perfect, man. He's got like 3,000 followers, and every time somebody puts the joke up, it gets like 20 to 30 retweets, and he was a brilliant mind, man, and he was a brilliant, beautiful person, and so I just really want to keep his name alive. I mean, it's not even about coming on here, wasn't about talking about me. It's just I just want to get him out there, man. He deserves so much and asks so little.
He's alive in your heart, bro.
He is 100%. You couldn't have said that better, man.
The people that are dead in my life aren't really dead. They're alive in my heart.
Exactly.
Because I think about what they would be doing and how they would want me to conduct myself. So I used them to my fucking advantage. Now he's in your heart.
Exactly.
He's in your heart forever, and you're stuck with him.
Like I said, man, when I called my mom that day and I said I can't get off these painkillers, and she goes, "How would Angelo feel about that right now?" And that was it. That was that shot that you needed to hear. That was like, it's time, because I got to do this for Angelo. You got to keep living, man. You know what I mean? You got to keep living. Yeah. There's a lot of life. I'm 32 years old. My mom says I'm a good-looking person, and I got a lot of talent, and I'm out here doing what I love, and he doesn't get to do that anymore. So I'm doing it for both of us, and it makes me feel good, because when I go on stage and I make these people laugh, I feel like a little bit closer to Ange, and I talk to him every day, and like you said, man, when they're in your heart, they're with you all the time. It's almost like when they pass, it's like I have every right to be sad that he's gone, but you're lucky that you knew him. And that is what sticks with me, is that I am blessed. I would have given up on comedy right at the fucking beginning, because I couldn't get a laugh. I sucked. But because of Angelo saying, "You're going to get funnier, Josh, just keep doing it. You are a funny guy. I know it, and you know it, and everybody else is one day." And he was that guy that helped motivate you and helped make you feel good and made you work harder. And so I'm blessed. And so because if I know him, and I know a lot of his friends know him, and you know him, I want everybody else to. So please look him up, Angelo Bowers. Just Google him, and everything will come up. And trust me, you'll have a great time enjoying his clips. He's a brilliant, brilliant comic. And I just want to say thank you guys for letting me come on, because that means a lot to be able to get his name out there.
We're so glad you came. And by the way, if any of you out there listening have liked today's discussion, do us all a favor. Go to Josh's Twitter. Let him know you liked it. Or you can go to iTunes and leave a little nice comment about it. That helps drive our numbers up. Anything you would like to add, Joey?
And don't forget to go to ballcancersucks.com, read up on the fucking disease, get checked up, and also support them. They have a little box there. They have T-shirts for sale. Press in B&B 20%. You get 20% off your sale. Also, some friends. I want to give a shout out to my friends over at
TaintedVisionArts.com.
You bad motherfuckers. Haven't heard from my man in a while, but I'm going to give him a call this week. Go over there. Check out the Eureka Pen over at NoHo Organic. Check out NoHo CC. Check out Divine Wellness in North Hollywood, and that's it, my love. Where are you at this weekend? Any dates?
I'm at the Ice House. I'm going to be in Wichita in June, just because I'm running a set for a TV thing.
Okay.
So that'll be like June, I think 15th.
So you're going back to Kansas?
I'm going to go back to Kansas, yes. And that's about it. Oh, do us a favor. If you haven't known this or heard this, Joey released his documentary. Go to Payloads and look for that. It's called Where I Got My Balls. And
Felicia took the picture for both covers, or one cover.
One cover.
And I'll be at the San Jose Improv next Thursday, June 7th. And I'll also be at Buffalo at Nietzsche's June 21st. And at Governor's in Levittown, Long Island, the 22nd and the 23rd. So there you have it, cocksuckers. Besides that, I want to thank Josh. I want to thank my beautiful co-host, Felicia. Have a great week and scratch those fucking nuts.
Did you just apologize to me again?
I don't fucking know. Love you, cocksucker. Stay black.